for this project, I'm doing a teapot and teacup. This is a McCoy stoneware teapot. Same with the little teacup. See how they're matching in shape. So this has a line, and I drew a pencil line around, and then I thought, well, I'm going to kind of make it like a swag as far as the way the design is going to go. I've taken and divided, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so 10 sections. You know, divide your teapot in half, and then half again, and then you can make the sections really as wide as you want. These, for this particular one, some of them are almost 2.5 inches to 2 inches. And I may not even use these lines. I have an idea, but as always, things kind of evolve when I do a design. So I drew out some holly leaves and berries and placed them right at the handle. And then I traced those on. I drew those and then traced it. And then I flipped the pattern. So it was like this. I flipped the pattern over for the other side. And because this is stoneware, I used the ultrafine Sharpie marker to transfer. And then I drew out a smaller set. I haven't decided what I'm doing on my lid yet. A smaller set for the teacup, and did the same thing. Did one side, turned it over so it was a mirrored image, and did it on the other side. Okay, so what I want is kind of a watercolor background for the main body. And I want it to be lighter in the middle, and then it's going to kind of graduate to some different colors. So I'm going to put key lime CC 160 in the center, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to add some LE003 aqua splash, a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side of it. So remember, I'm starting in the middle and working up and working down. Then I'm going to go to CC 163 shadow green, same thing here, and then it will go this way also. And then we'll do 164 mountain pine as the darkest, and we're going to add a little bit of blue in here, 142 blueberry, and it's going to kind of be here and there, but mostly where the darker is. You're going to need your sumi brushes, medium and small, to start with, and we'll probably do red on the handle. Like I said, I'll just do it a little bit at a time and see where this goes. Okay, so always shake your color. So I'm going to put out 160. And we are going to mix these colors with the CSP01 Gloss Medium, which is our earthenware clear glaze. You can use it to decorate with, or what I call spot glazing. You never use it on stoneware for the clear glaze. I recommend a McCoy's SW004 zinc-free clear for the clear glaze over the top of the colors. LE003, same thing, equal parts. And then we'll put out some CC 163. Always shake them good before you dispense them. That will help liquefy them. CC 164 mountain pine. And a little bit of the 142 blueberry. Okay, so I'm going to put these out of the way now. We're going to be doing some possibly some stamping also. I'll see how this all looks with the watercolor background, and then I'll kind of go from there. But my thoughts are, and I may or may not use the lines that I've drawn on here. It really just depends on what I think of the look of this. Okay. Alright, so let's mix those colors up. Mix with the handle of your brush. That way you don't waste your product by rinsing the hairs and rinsing that color down the drain. So basically what we're doing is the color concentrates are a translucent or transparent underglaze, and we're adding the gloss medium to it, which turns it into a colored gloss glaze, is what it does. Now, if you had color strokes, you could use those. You don't need to add anything to them. They've already got the glaze in them. We just tell you not to put anything with the gloss medium or anything that has glaze in it. Don't ever put it on like your lid and your where the two pieces will touch. So you wouldn't want the color here and here. And I'll probably end up using a CC without any medium in it, and I need to wax those before I fire them. I wax the bottoms. So if you're doing stoneware, it's a good idea to wax. I'm using Mr. Mark's Wax On Resist. It's 70% wax, 30% water, and I just apply that, and you can kind of see that purple tinge here. I just apply it to whatever's going to touch the shelf with a little foam craft brush. Okay, now we need to make a wash. To do that, we're going to add water to a well here. I am going to wet my brush. Get me a towel over here. And I'm going to pick up a healthy scoop of the CC 160 and the medium mix. And I'm going to kind of just put this in the middle. I don't want that to run. I really don't care, and I don't care if it gets on the holly, but I don't want it everywhere. We're just doing a slip slap mush mush. Make sure you go down to the bottom of the paint well, because the color is heavier than the water and it will fall to the bottom. So make sure you constantly stir that as you're using it. Like I said, I'm not really worried about the holly leaves. Because they're going to have green on them anyway. Okay, I'm going to test this on the teacup before I go to the teapot. Okay, so now I'm going to add a scoop of the Aqua Splash. And by adding it into that, it's going to have a hint of the green in there. Now this one you're going to have to make sure that you're constantly moving so that you're not creating a pattern, but you do want it to overlap onto the first color. I'm going to rinse my brush and I'm going to go back here and just soften that. I don't want it to have a real definite line or a drip. Now it should have come up on the handle with that first color, and I did not, so I'll have to go back and add that. Okay, now this color is also going up above here. Stir. I'm taking some of that off of my brush. And we can scoot this off of any area that we get it on that we don't want it. We can just take a damp brush, and so if it gets on the holly berries, don't freak out. But you do want it to overlap. We'll come back and soften that. So I'm going to rinse and then just go back and hit where those two meet. Push it off of any areas that you don't want it. Okay. Now I'm going to add the shadow, but I'm running out of water, so I am going to add more water so that it stays a wash, because otherwise it would be too strong. Excuse me. Once again, you're overlapping, and I'm kind of just working it back and forth just to make sure I don't have any drips or runs. And make sure that it looks watercolory. I've got an area here that I don't like, so I'm just coming back with water. There's a drip I need to fix. I'm going to add some of this to the handle. Just so I don't forget to put some on there. Okay, so now I'm going to go down here at the bottom. You can put it on the very bottom because we have the wax on the foot. Okay, I'm going to clean, blot my brush, and just come back and touch up any areas that might be too heavy. Okay, and then we'll put some more water. I'm just grabbing a little bit of the 164. I'm not, maybe a half of a brush load. Do it more towards the top of this. You have to put a little bit more in there. It's not as dark as I was anticipating. But I can go back over it again with another coat, and that will deepen the value of the color also. Take some of that moisture out of my brush. Whoops, we got a runner. Oh no. So I'm just going to take clean water. Okay, let's add some at the bottom. I'll hold it this way just because it's going to run. Yep. Then I'll come back. Okay, so you can see it's kind of light in the middle. And then it just graduates. This is what I was going for, is kind of a vintage look. And I think by adding these, if you wanted the traditional greens, you could go that route. You didn't have to go with the 163 and 64. You could go with the 161 and 162. Those are extremely darker colors, so be careful if you go that route. Okay, so just gonna even this out. I'll let that dry a minute, and then I'm gonna add a little bit more, because right now the rim is a little darker than this, but remember we put 2 coats up here. So what I'm thinking is, after the holly is painted, or maybe even before, we have these Christmas stamps. This is SS7. It's like holly and berries, and it will almost fit in one of those spaces. So we can, because they're small like this and everything is really close to it, these are our stamps that are on the Colors for Earth website. The nice thing is you can see, you know where your pattern's going down. So we have this one, and then we have another smaller one. This is the same thing, just a miniature version of that, with just 3 leaves. And so you could come in and you could fill in areas with that. We also have a pine bough with a pine cone, and then the pine needles. You could use that on there also. You could even just do little snowflakes. This is not one of ours. This is looks like a Hobby Lobby one. This is Stampabilities. I think I got that at one of the craft stores, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, one of those type of places. So you could even come in with those if you wanted. So you could use any kind of stamp, is what I'm trying to say. But if you like the ones I'm using, you can find those on the website. Alright, so I'm just going back and adding a second coat that had that 164 in it. Softening that edge. Now, I'm going to make a new well to put some of that blueberry into. I don't want it in there with my greens. And it doesn't have to go everywhere. It can just be a hit and miss. That would just give it a blue hue every now and then. You can repeat this same thing on your inside. There's like a area there I either scooted it off or it didn't want to accept. Okay. And we can always go back and move that around too. Remember, with the medium being in there, it allows us to manipulate and move that color around as you need it to. Okay. All right, so clean that out if we're gonna start with the middle or the inside. So we did a healthy scoop of the key lime. So I think what I'm going to do on the inside is do the key lime and then bring the colors up instead of doing the center, because we really don't need that inside. We just need some color in there to make it match. And then grab some of those 63. I'm going to bring it all the way to the top. And then the 64, I'll just leave it closer to the top. Okay, more water. Rinse and just go back where those two meet and soften that line so that there's not a line. Alright, then we'll add some 164. And then if you want a touch of that blue in there, you can add some of that. Okay. You can kind of see this one's drying. Alright, so then I have to make a decision on whether I want these sections or not. And if I do, I want to shade both sides of the section so that it looks at more, makes it look more like quilted or dimensional. And I think I will do that with the 164. So with the 10 square shader, this is the 5200 number 10 Kolinsky square shader. You water load, drag off to get rid of most of the excess water. Keep the writing of the brush towards you, and then corner load, and no more than half. Let's come in a little bit. No more than half of your brush hairs, and then you blend on the palette, turn it over, color next to color, and blend again. Usually the first time I will load it twice, just to make sure I've got some in there. Now we do have the design here, so if you can, let's start over here. Stop and start around your design, that would be great. So press all the way down to fan those hairs out. Rinse. Riding the brush towards you. Corner. Okay, I'm going to re-corner. And then I'm turn my brush over so I can do the other side. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around, constantly rinsing and reloading. And I guess I'm going all the way up instead of using that swag that I put on there. I was trying out a couple of different things. Turn the brush over, and I wasn't sure which way I wanted to go. I can turn this around. Come down instead. And sometimes it might be easier to go do all the right sides and then come back and do the other side. Okay, so just in case you've never floated color, I'm going to bring my water bowl over here so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got dirty, less dirty, and more clean over here. So I rinse over here, come and rinse in the next one, and then I drag along. You can do it along the edge, whatever you want to do, but that's going to remove the excess water so that then I can corner load my brush. And see how I'm constantly going in that same spot. You don't need to have little lines all over your palette. If you fill it up, then wipe out the center of your palette and start again. Okay, that was a little light, so I'm going to redo it. This one's going to be hard to do because it's right here by the handle. Okay. So now we're going to go do the other side of these. You could do a fall one like this and make it look like a pumpkin. Have your orange base coat on there and then do brown like burnt sienna. Kind of reminds you of a squash or a gourd, kind of a The key is to keep that brush all the way flat because that dispenses the color from heaviest where you've got it heavier here, and then it floats it out to nothing or water on the other side. So when you press down, it causes that to graduate and blend and bleed across the brush. It's harder to take off. You can always add more. So that one was a little light. So I'm going to reinforce it again. But you've got to have enough water in there to carry that color across the brush. Okay. And then we'll put an edge on here so we don't need to worry about coming up on the top. Alright, so now you need to do your holly leaves. So we should be able to do them with this 10. Or you can go down to an 8 or a 6. You can also we could just do a blend on those so that you don't have to try to do any stroke work. With the small sumi brush, dampen it, blot out the moisture. We're going to grab the key lime. And we're going to pat it in. Halfway up to 3/4, turn around, grab the 163 mix, or you could go and get into, if you want more of the traditional colors, you could go 161 and 162 if you wanted these darker and stronger. So I overlap those two. I did get out of the line, so I'm going to take a different square shader, and I'm just going to shimmy that back and forth, back in. Then I'm going to pick up some of the 164, starting near the stem or the base of the leaf, and pat it in. Set it down, mush, mush, mush. Walk it to the left, walk it to the right. This is the lower side, so I can come down, and I'm constantly aiming my brush where I want it to go. And then I could pick up some of that blue, if you want a little touch of the blue, maybe off to one side, just for some interest, something different. Then you would wipe out the dark and the blue, and then start again with the 160 mix. Turn around, pick up 163 mix. And a little bit of the 164. Now you could do traditional brush strokes on these if you want. I'm just trying to show you another way. And you, if you're a beginner using strokes, you had the floating of the color here, so I don't want to put too much on you at one time. So I'm going with an easier. Now, when I just did that, I did remove some of that background, so I'm going to go over here to some of these washes, and I'm just going to tap. Probably have to let it dry a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to put some 160 back in my brush, kind of wipe it out. 163, wipe some of that out, and then the 164. And let's grab a little bit of the blue. The blueberry mix. Wipe out your brush. Go back to the 160. I'm not going to worry about that berry. We'll put it on top. Now, you can do multiple coats of this if you want it darker and stronger. If you just want it light, then one coat is really all you need. You can also mist it to look at it. We'll do that in a little bit. We can put a band of the darker down here, or you can go back and bring your lines down. So you've got them on this side also. I'm going to take some water and just get rid of any of this darker color so that it's not on the area I don't want it. I'm just pushing it back off. Because you can layer over it, but you got to remember it's translucent, so it could show through. So pat that color on, turn around, pick up the 163, start at the other end, pat it in, $164. And if you want a little bit of blue. Wipe those out. You could even block in the whole thing with the lighter color if it's easier for you. Okay, so you've got both sides. Check my inside to see if there's some areas that I need to mix and blend, or maybe I've got some harsh lines. Okay. I kind of like that. I think the handle needs to be a little bit darker. Okay, so the question is, are we going to stamp or not? We could put one big stamp in the center. Of course, it's going to be hard to do. I should have done that first. We could get in and around with that one. If we stamped here, 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 and here, that would avoid I don't know. I'm going to let it dry. And we'll work on the teapot. They have these little like stencils that you could put over that and then use a dauber to make your circles perfect if you wanted them to be absolutely perfect. There are even some of these that you've got like a group of berries if you wanted to do that. I don't know if I have any daubers. Oh, maybe they're up here. When you get organized and you can't find anything. You know what I found to be one of the best little circle is the pencil eraser, especially if it's a brand new one. This one's not exactly new, but I think we could use it. Or you could use the handle of a brush. You just don't want to get too thick with it because it could pop. I am going to put just a smidge of the CSP01 gloss medium with it just to hopefully eliminate anything getting too heavy. You know what? We could even use a Q-tip. Let's try that and see how that works. Because the Q-tip is going to absorb a lot of the color. And when you squish it down, then you'll get some highs and lows. See how it's got that little, it's almost like an indent. And you can come back and tap it. You could even just do some berries. I have an idea for something though. Like I said, I build this as I go. So what I'm thinking is we could use the rider tips and the 164 and do a squiggly line. Do I want black? Maybe the yellow. So they're different openings, different thickness of line. So you've got an itty bitty bitty one, the black one, and then the yellow one is a little more open. So what you do is make sure you shake up your color, take that lid off, apply your red cap, which comes in, and I don't know that I have any here. There is a set called a cap kit, accessory kit, and it'll come with 2 of the caps. You get a syringe to clean out your tips, and then you get a little cleaner for it. Or we have the caps, and these caps will fit my 1 ounce and my 2 ounce bottles, so no matter which size you have, it fits them. And then you just determine what size line you want. So I'm gonna practice here with that one. Now I would definitely start from the bottom and come up, and I'm gonna make it kind of wavy just because I think it'll be easier. It's almost like a ribbon. So you don't want to scratch. You want to constantly wipe that tip off. Make sure you can see. You don't ever want to go over the top because you'll be scratching off what you're putting on. And the nice thing is, if you make it wavy, it'll clean up anything that maybe you weren't straight on when you did the lines, the shading. And it will take away from any of that. And don't make sure you don't stick your hand in it. Okay, so I'm going to have to adjust here. If your tip gets clogged, you just clean it before you. If you feel like you're squeezing really hard and nothing's coming out, don't keep squeezing. You need to stop and clean your tip. That's kind of cute. I like that. This one's kind of a fat. I'm afraid if I try to fix it, I'm going to wipe off anything that's underneath. So I'm not sure I want to mess with it. And I think I'll just leave it. Okay. You could even outline your holly leaves with that if you wanted. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to take this off and put a cap on it. So they come with these little clear caps. These tips are stainless steel. You can drop them in your water and go back and clean them later. You don't have to clean them right away, but all I'm doing is pulling some water up in my syringe, attach the tip with a half a turn, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And you just want to keep cleaning until you see no more product in there. And you've got those little tip cleaners also that you can put in there and clean it out with. I do not have one right here at my fingertips. Okay, so I'm going to leave this on. So we could put little dots of berries. I'm trying to think if I want to do that. So if I did it, so that's kind of what it would look like. I don't know. Or just plain berries. Or you could just do one berry. You know, you could just do almost like little dots. I kind of like the idea of maybe doing this holly leaf. So if I were going to do that, I'm going to get a tile. There's not much space left on this, but I am going to do it anyway. So this is just a dauber sponge. I'm going to grab, and I'm out. Of course I am. I'm not going to put any in it. Nope, I don't like that. Or do I just do a smaller grouping? This is too small. Let's go to the end of the sumi brush. Small sumi. better. Now, I probably want some on these too. And then we'll need to put some in here. Cute. Now, for these little guys, you can take that, this is the 2200 number 8. No, let's don't do that one, I don't think. Let me look at this. Because if I was gonna do a little leaf, that's probably too big. We almost need like a number 2, the 3600 number 2 liner. So let's imagine that we've got three dots there. I'm gonna have to thin this down. You could put just a couple of little, actually the little pressure stroke is probably better. Change the direction, so point, press, and lift up. Press and lift up. There's no pulling or anything. But change the direction and the sides so they don't all look the same. I know. Okay. Then you need some black. Don't need that. So CC 101 Cobalt Black. Same liner, 3600. Number 2 or your favorite liner. Then one corner down, pull it through to load all the hairs, shape it, get it to a point, and then you're ready to detail. You could, if you wanted some pine needles, you could pull those out from underneath. Isn't that cute? You could also put a little dot of black on the berries. And you could do your handle red. You could do the trim down here red. I think I'm going to do it with the pine. So small sumi brush. You could use a square shader. I'll slightly thin this because it's been sitting there for a while. Remember, I have my bottom waxed. Remember, multiple thin coats are better than one thick, heavy coat of product. And of course, I just name. Okay, and then I would do a rim at the top with the foam brush. Okay. Cute. I still don't know what I want to do on the lid. I guess I could put a couple of, maybe just put Now, I did have a berry on top of a leaf. If you want that berry on there, you could do that. I think I'd do it with the handle though. Okay, so the teapot we're going to do the same way as we did the cup. I'll kind of lay that. Maybe I will. There we go. There, so you can kind of see it. We'll put the light green in the middle. So CC 160, key lime mixed 50-50 with the gloss medium. And then I've got water over here in another well, and we're going to make a wash. I'm going to add, I've got a lot to do, so I'm going to add just a little bit more color. And this is going in the middle section of the teapot. So you're just mushing that color around. Constantly stir to the bottom of the well. Because remember, the color is heavier than water. So it's going to fall to the bottom. So I'm going to get the handle. I may make the spout on this one a different color. So I'm not going to put the color on there. I'm just doing it one more time to make it a little darker. Okay. All right, let's fill this with water. And we'll pick up some of the Aqua Splash, almost a complete brush load. Work that off of the bristles, get it really mixed up. And I'm going to go on the top, kind of overlap halfway. Come back with just a damp brush and soften where those two meet. Just in case. Alright, now we're going to add the 163 shadow green. We're going to add a little bit more water, keeping that well full. Oh, I didn't do the bottom. Okay. I'll have to come back and reverse it. Okay, add water. and pick up some of the 164. Up, drip. So if you have too much product on your brush, that's what I'm doing over here, is wiping some of that off. Just so that I attempt to avoid that happening again. All right. All right, so since I messed up, I have to start over. And we started with the key lime, so I have to have that in there, but I'm going to take some of it out and go into the aqua. We'll add the blue at the very end. All the areas. Run. Oh, I need to hold it this way. But I want to turn it so it's going to drip this direction instead. Alright, so I'm going to go back with just water and soften where those two meet, so we don't have a line there. I'm going to put a smidge of blue in here and then pick up the 63. Okay, water. $164. Let that dry for just a minute, and then I'm going to add some more. Alright, let's go with another coat of the darker. Okay. Still darker up here, so I need more. So let's put some of that water back over there. Grab a little bit more of the 164 to deepen that. Still think it needs to be darker. There we go. Okay, now we're going to add some of that blue. We have it in a separate well. Too much. Rinse. Okay. All right, now we need to do the shading. Shading's going to be with the CC 164. Okay. Ten square shader. Water load. Riding towards you. Corner load. Blend. And I'm trying to decide. I may not want to go all the way up because this has a bend in the teapot there. I think I'll start at this area. Alright, so we're going to do the leaves with the 3-color blend. If you needed to wipe off any of your color off of the leaves, you can do that with just water in your brush, slightly dampened, and push it back. Kind of like I need to do right here. So if I had any areas, I could just push this color back if I thought it was too dark for the colors I'm going to put on there. Turn it around, pick up the 63. Bit of the 64. Some of the blueberry. Rinse. I gotta figure out what to do. Alright, so for the lid, we're just gonna add a little bit of all of these colors. And we're gonna make it more of a darker tone because we've got the dark at the top. Add some blue. Maybe water load, drag off to a point, grab some of that 164. And just kind of float it along. You could do it with your square shader also. I'm not sure what this little area is that keeps resisting. I'm going to scratch it off with the diamond tool. All right. So we need to do our lines to match these, the wavy lines. I just noticed I didn't shade that side. Okay, so do we want to put that? Oops, I just touched my line somewhere. All right, give that a minute to dry. And then let's take the 164 mix. This is the small Sumi brush. Okay, so we're going to be missing some, so I'm going to dot it a couple of times on the palette. Oh, that's not where I wanted that. My hand slipped. I'll have to come back to that. Okay. And our red berries. The 112 candy apple red with a little bit of the medium, just in case you were to get too heavy with it. If you get too heavy, it's going to crack. Alright, this one we did with Q-tip. Making these a little bit bigger than the other one because it's a larger piece. Okay. Alright, I think I want the spout red. Now I have to make a decision whether to do the handle red too, which I think I need to. Put 2 coats of red on and then you need to let it dry. And then a couple more. I think I need to put the berries on here before I make a decision. Okay, so I'm going to do them with the medium sumi handle. Okay, it has to dry. Alright, now we need to put the little leaves on those berries. So with the number 3600 number 2 liner, we're going to do those little pressure strokes. I'm going to add 3 on these just because they're bigger. red handle, or yeah, I think a red handle. But I'm gonna wait and do it last because I'll get it all over me. Now I see a spot here that doesn't have anything. Let's paint the knob. Okay. Okie dokie. So we need some more red for the spout and the handle. That's all going to come off because it's all waxed. I don't know if some of it might hold. Okay, so I don't think I need this anymore, but you could do a wavy line where the red and the green attach if you wanted to. I think I'll leave it. Alright, so I probably should do red on the handle of this one. Alright, that's gonna dry.